Welcome to Bro Coverage. I'm your host, Nick. Just in case you guys don't know, we normally do Panthers press conference breakdowns. Today, we're finally starting our ascension to the rest of the division. We are kicking it off with the New Orleans Saints, Dennis Allen's most recent conference call. Full breakdown of that, as well as a video coming on their analysis of this upcoming game between our Carolina Panthers and New Orleans Saints. But without any more delay, let's jump to it.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Back, y'all. Let's jump into it. This is Mr. Dennis Allen and his conference call. Obviously, we got everything up there. Conference call from week 14. This is audio only, so there will not be anything on the screen, but hey, we're still here.
All right, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, can you still send anything new with him being out there practicing today?
Well, I would say that he's in the concussion protocol. Feels pretty good, with all the other deals that he's dealing with. So, again, like I said earlier this week, we'll go through the concussion protocol, see where we're at in terms of him being cleared by the doctors, and then we'll know where we're at after that.
Yeah, will he be listed as limited or full or?
Limited today.
Yeah,
See, that's something to kind of watch. I think it's really interesting they're doing a conference call rather than a press conference. Obviously, there might be some stuff going on, but just real quick, talking about this game, I'm going to do the Panthers injuries first, just to kind of give you some, things. So as of right now, the injury report for the upcoming game has everybody's game status is unspecified. Obviously, it's too early to make the decision for Sunday, but we have the Carolina Panthers have Troy Hill, Taylor Moton, Adam Thielen, Deshaun Williams, Von Bell, Bozeman, Chin, YGM, Marquise Haynes, J.C. Horn, Hayden Hurst, Sullivan, Tremble, and Amari Barno, all on the injury report, all unspecified from things like rest and ankle, knee, shoulder, quadricep, hamstring, concussion, everything, all over the sun, right? Let's look at the other side. They have a lot of injuries on this New Orleans Saint roster, so I want to really point that out. Isaiah Foskey, Taysom Hill, Cam Jordan, Marcus May, Keandre Miller, Malcolm Roach, Rashid Shaheed, Derek Carr, Jimmy Graham, Jawan Johnson, Eric McCoy, Andrews Pete, Ryan Ramczyk, Pete Werner, and Blake Grubke. So, again, for same things. Thigh, knee, ankle, shoulder, foot, quadricep, rest, oblique. This one, contusion, rib, right shoulder for Derek Carr. So I absolutely would expect Derek Carr to be out this week. Normally, concussion protocol, you cannot get back in the same week. That's why I would have a little bit of reservations about Hayden Hurst for our Panthers playing. Taysom Hill is great, should play. There's a bunch of them. That roster was built with the idea that bringing in, kind of like how the Panthers did, bringing in a quarterback would be able to remedy so much. We're unfortunately not seeing that right now. Obviously, there's also been injuries to people like Michael Thomas. There's been issues to Chris Olave, little stuff like that. But that adds up. Dennis Allen is also on the hottest seat, apparently, since Frank Reich was let go. So I don't think it's a great thing that they're going with, another coach and everything already. One of the things that I'm going to Google something real quick, and that is the updated future draft picks. I use Fanspo for a bunch of different things, but upcoming in this draft, they have their own 2024 pick. They have the rights to a second-round pick, traded rights to head coach Sean Payton for this pick, it looks like, and a second-round pick, for them. Okay, good. So, NFL draft order 2024. Where does this put, as of right now, the Saints? This puts the Saints at 9. At 9, I think they could still go get a quarterback, and if that's the case, I would expect them to move on from Derek Carr, especially if they're bringing in a new coach and all that other stuff. That's something to really kind of watch out for. I know I've kind of gone on a tangent, and this is about this, but I just really want to kind of put that into perspective. Dennis Allen will not be the coach moving forwards, and it's going to be somebody else. I'm not really sure who that's going to be, It's going to be real interesting to see who's going to take that position, considering that Allen actually left the Raiders and then eventually was the last coach signed for this season. So I'm going to give him the floor again. Let's just get this presser or this conference call over with. I want to understand where their mindset is at, so this way we can pounce as Panthers. Let's go.
Does that mean the concussion is the only thing that would keep him out of this game?
I think that's the primary thing, yeah.
And did you get any feedback from the doctors on whether they would treat a second concussion in a month?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's really
A valid point.
not something that I can comment on when a guy's in the concussion protocol. I mean, it's league mandated in terms of that, so I really can't really comment any further on that.
Totally fair.
Hey, Dennis, how does Jameis handle this kind of transition from backup to starter, kind of back to backup, just in your time?
Look, I think he's handled it extremely well. I mean, that's kind of the nature of the business when you're, the backup in this league. You got to be ready to go at a moment's notice and potentially have to take a back seat, if the starter's available and ready to go. So I think Jameis has been awesome. Jameis has been great. He's going to prepare himself, get himself ready to play. And if he's called upon to do so, I have all the confidence that he'll go in and play well.
When you guys signed Derek this offseason, did you anticipate Jameis would want to come back, and how did those conversations go?
Well, look, I mean,
to be honest, I thought Jameis would end up on another team, especially when the Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers went down. I would expect somebody to make a phone call, go get Jameis, considering he was one of the best backups in the league at the time, or at least coming into the season. So that's something to really look at. I'm actually a Jameis fan, especially now since he's gotten his eyes checked and everything. Said he had issues. That's why he was throwing so many picks. But overall, I think that Winston will be able to do something this week against our Panthers, especially with a depleted possible secondary. So that's something to really watch out for.
When we talked to him about coming back, he was all on board with it. So we thought that was a good addition to have in terms of a guy that's been a starter in this league and a guy that we feel like can go in and play at a high level if need be.
Is he kind of the same guy, just personality-wise, regardless of his spot in the depth chart?
Yeah, I don't see any difference in the player, on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. He works extremely hard. He's a great teammate. He's done a really good job for us. So I haven't seen any change in his focus. I mean, certainly he's a guy that's played in our league and wants to play. So. And I think we all respect that.
Absolutely, but no offense, they're paid a bunch of money to play in this league. He's obviously shown that he's going to be a game breaker when he can. So again, I'm not even a big Saints fan, so this is all new to me too. So if you see me kind of sitting here digesting, and obviously we don't have any body language or any of that other stuff to go off of how we normally do these breakdowns. This is more of just hearing what they're saying, interpreting it from a Panther side, and then seeing how we're going to adjust moving forward.
Yeah, I know you guys got the injury report coming out in a minute, but if you'd allow one more, we didn't see Taysom out there. Is that anything serious?
Yeah. Well, look, he's dealing with a foot and hand issue, left hand, and so we're going to have to evaluate him as we go throughout the week and see where he's at. But he did not practice today.
Taysom is again one of those game breakers, but lower extremity issues are always something that I have pause for. On top of a hand as well. That's obviously concerning. So that's something that if Taysom is not fully healthy, that does remove quite a bit of mystique to their offense. But actually in the most recent press conference, we were able to see Chris Tabor say that he actually has personnel that are watching for those changes. And if Taysom does happen to come into the game, they're going to completely adjust and they're going to adapt to that. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
So I know you played these guys in week 2. With all that's happened since then, to what extent would you say this feels like, or maybe doesn't feel like, you're facing a team that you've already played this year?
Well, look, I mean, I see a lot of similarities to the team that we saw earlier in the year. last week was the first week that we had an opportunity to watch him play since the since the coaching change. And yet I'd say there's still a lot of similarities. Look, it's hard to change everything in the middle of a season. So I see a lot of similarities. Obviously, they've gotten a lot of defensive players back that are out there playing for them now, and they've been one of the better defenses in our league.
Roster, meaning the Carolina roster, was hurt at the beginning of the year. So we can't sit here and then at the end, if Chris Tabor rattles off, say, 1 or 2 wins, be like, oh, he's measurably better than Frank. We weren't even working off of the same level of respect. The owner was actively listening to a GM and an offensive coach working against Frank Reich as head coach after he had just hired him. So I'm giving Dennis Allen mad props with this. He's absolutely right. It's looked the same because you can't make a drastic change in the middle of the season to scheme, to personnel, to all that other stuff, obviously being past the trade deadline. So I think this is a much bigger problem. And a lot of people, again, are going to be like, oh, Frank. No, this is going to be a completely different team in week 16 than it was in week 2. In week 14, for example, with this upcoming game, it's going to be completely different than it was in week 2 because we're starting to get some of those defensive injured players back. So, yeah, it's going to be completely different. Super happy about it. This might be a chance for Carolina to squeeze it out, but I cannot deny the talent that the Saints have, period.
Have you seen Bryce develop much since that first meeting?
Yeah, look, I mean, I see a lot of good things out of him. I mean, I think he's goes through his progressions pretty well. I think he does a good job in terms of avoiding the rush in the pocket. He's got some mobility to him, and I think last week they probably made a little bit more of a concerted effort to get him outside the pocket on some boots and things of that nature to give him a little bit more of kind of a run pass option.
Yeah, what did you guys just kind of see from the secondary in the last game?
And you talking about Carolina's secondary?
No, your secondary this past weekend, just some of the stuff, it looked like there were maybe like a couple busted coverages. What was some of the stuff that you guys saw just kind of going through the film?
Yeah, look, I mean, I thought kind of like most of the game, there was a lot of good things that happened. There was a couple of things that they did that were, challenging. And then I thought there were some times that they made some plays in contested environments. So, there's every week you're going to look at it and say, man, we got to work this, we got to clean this up, we got to do this, we got to do that. So, I mean, I saw a lot of good things, and then some things that we got to work on.
When you have like some moving parts and there's just a lot of different guys playing, like is that just kind of the process, I guess? Like, would you expect it to be a little bit, I don't know, tighter, just like another week, just moving some guys in and out and that?
Well, look,
valid question. If you constantly have guys coming in and out, injured or not, it's going to obviously change things up a little bit. I'm very interested to see how he's going to respond to this.
I think the more any unit plays together, the better the more cohesive it's going to be, and the better it's going to be. So, having the same guys out there in whatever unit you're talking about, whether it's a particular position group, particular side of the ball, I think having all those guys healthy and working together is obviously more what you're looking for.
Absolutely fair. No criticism there.
And earlier in the year, we talked a lot about Olave and kind of the struggles that he was going through, at least consistency-wise, back-to-back weeks with the injury, over 100 yards. Have you kind of seen him develop in terms of just being, as you put it, being a professional over the last 3-4 weeks?
Well, look, I certainly think he stepped up over the last couple of weeks. I think, earlier in the season, he was catching a lot of heat, and I think I said at that point in time that, Chris is going to continue to work hard, and he's going to be a big part of, what we do for the rest of the season. And I think, he's kind of stepped up in that role and been a big playmaker for us.
Be a opportunity to trade Michael Thomas and your, I think I saw it was 9th overall pick right now, 8th, 9th, where the Carolina was before last year, before the trade up, of course. Do you trade into the top 3? Because I think it's going to be Caleb Williams, Drake May. Go to 3 and pair Chris Olave with Marvin Harrison Jr., roll a little bit longer with Derek Carr, or see if you can't get a second. Use your second and your 2 seconds to trade up into the end of the first and try and snag one of those quarterbacks. Could be a Spencer Rattler. Could be a few of these other guys. If Bo Nix happens to fall, there's a bunch of opportunities for you guys to still get another top flight wide receiver. Again, send Michael Thomas someplace else. He's got some issues. He's older. Pair the 2 Ohio State wide receivers. Arguably, Marvin Harrison's going to walk in as a Pro Bowler, so that would be a great addition to your wide receiver core. I think that could alleviate a lot. And if you end up having to roll Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, I think that could work, especially with those 2 absolutely dynamic wide receivers on the end. You also got to think that a lot of other teams are going to be losing wide receiver talent. Main one being the Bengals, most likely losing T. Higgins to free agency. So you could really, really start to establish that wide receiver core as second to none. Obviously, there's a lot of other competing wide receiver groups, but that could be something interesting. Just something to think about if you're a Saints fan.
Yeah, if you guys kind of reach I don't know, like, I know every week you're trying to win, but, like, are these almost, like, must-win games, like, in the division and kind of with where you guys are at?
Yeah, look, we need to win. There's no question about that. We need to go out and play good football. We need to get a win this week, and we're going to work extremely hard to get it figured out and get the win. And that's what I said earlier in the week. We're going to keep chopping wood. And
same thing that Chris Tabor says. Just go out there chopping wood, man. Chopping wood.
Eventually we're going to bust through this thing. But yeah, we need to win.
Hey, Dennis, have you seen any positive signs for Rashid Shaheed in his recovery? I know we didn't see him at practice, but is he getting closer to returning?
Yeah, he's getting closer. He's making progress. We'll see how he progresses throughout the rest of the week, but I do think he's making progress. Yes.
That's the end. That's it. Overall, this is my first press conference from Mr. Allen. I'm going to be generous here. Give him a B-. Didn't really give me anything, obviously. Just kind of answered basic questions, what I'm assuming this conference calls are about. More of injury updates, what's your mindset right now and everything, as opposed to standing at a presser and doing that whole thing. So with that, I'm going to end this video now. If you guys want to check out more breakdowns, like I said, this is the first one for the Saints. Expect more in division. Expect Bucks breakdowns. Expect Saints breakdowns. Expect Falcons breakdowns. And of course, expect the Carolina Panthers full breakdowns of all press conferences and everything right here on Row Coverage. I am your host, Nick. Hopefully you have a great rest of the day.